Ready to break some characters? Break their hearts? Crush their souls? What's up, my friend? Abby here, and welcome back to Writer's Life Wednesdays. Today we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, breaking characters. That's right, taking your sweet darlings and breaking them, crushing their souls and bringing them to their knees in the most disastrous, torturous way. We're not psychotic, us writers. Maybe just a little. But the point is that in order to write a story that's emotional and gripping and compelling that readers fall in love with, it's gotta have some emotional ups and downs, right? Well, today we're talking about just the downs part. As we talked about last month in the How to Outline a Riveting Novel series, story is about emotion, it's about things changing, it's about the protagonist changing as a result of her journey. So that being said, we all want to write an emotional, powerful character arc that at some point makes something terrible happen to the protagonist, right? But how do we break them? Exactly. How do we make it more gripping and spellbinding than simply something bad happens? How do we crush the character and the reader in one fell swoop? That's what today's video is all about. There are obviously lots of ways to break your characters, but today I'm going to show you 3 tried and true awesome ways to break your characters. You can use 2 out of 3, but bonus points if you use all 3. Number 1, character is the victim of something horrible in general. Be careful with this one because it's what most writers begin and end with. This is not what we're going to end with, but it is a good place to begin. But the mistake most writers make is they start thinking up these terrible experiences for their character to go through, and they start thinking, yeah, that would be horrible for anyone to deal with. But you've heard me say this before and I'll say it again. When you start saying things like anyone, it would be horrible for anyone to deal with, you know you've lost touch with the internal conflict of your character. So there has to be something more to breaking a character than just simply something bad happening to the character. It has to internally affect them, right? But for now, it can just externally affect them. That's a good place to start. For example, if your character gets in a car accident and breaks her legs, that would be horrible for anyone to deal with. But let's say she's also a runner and she was on her way to competing in the Olympics. Well, now it's even worse because it's now affecting her external goal. Now let's go internal. The second way to break your characters, either paired with the first method or it works on its own, character experiences the thing they've always been afraid of. I always like to say a broken character is a character who is forced to experience the thing that they are terrified of, and the worst possible outcome ensues. Of course, you should know what your character's greatest fear is, and if you don't, you need to build out your character profile. If you have no idea what to make your character terrified of, a good way to figure that out is to just reverse their purpose and goal. Like, what is something that they have a passion for or believe in? This might even be their job or some kind of volunteer work that they do. Also can be helpful to know your character's MBTI type because then that will give you some idea of what's important to them. For example, let's say your character is an ISFJ and has a big heart and just wants to help people. Let's say he's a doctor for that specific reason. Now, that being said, what would he be terrified of? Probably being in a situation where he couldn't help anybody, where all his efforts to save lives were futile. So if you can figure out what they believe in, what's important to them, what their purpose is, then you can basically reverse that to come up with the thing that would break them, the thing that they would be terrified of. But remember, first you have to establish the character's fear and make the reader really feel the character's desire to avoid that fear and that pain. That way, when the worst possible outcome ensues, you're setting everything up so that you're breaking the character and the reader with one blow. Yay! And last but not least, the third way to break your character becomes the very thing they hate. This one is good. Again, it's one of those emotional internal things that if you do it right, you can absolutely rip your character apart. And this doesn't have to be super dramatic, like making your character turn into a villain or something. You can do that, but sometimes it won't make sense to. Sometimes you're writing a cute, fluffy rom-com and you want to break your character without making this whole thing get super dark real fast. Good news, you can still make your character become everything that they hate. But again, you have to establish what it is they hate, what they most look down on other people for. And if you already built your character profile with my character profile template that I linked in the corner, you will have answered this question. So once you know what your character most looks down on other people for and what they just resent, you can connect the dots. How does their bad decisions in response to their obstacles lead them to a place where they become everything they hate. And boom, that's it. That's how you break your characters. 3 ways. Remember, you should use more than just the first thing, but bonus points if you use all 3. Then you really have a deliciously broken character on your hands. Tell me in the comments below, what is your favorite way to break a character and crush their soul? Have you used any of the methods I talked about in this video? And if so, which one is your favorite? Smash that like button if you like this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I post writing videos every Wednesday and I would love to have you here in the community. Until next week, my friend, rock on.